I'm Dr. Hansen, and we're going to start off our Schwob Theory Summer Success Unit talking about clefs and note names. You may be really familiar with one particular clef because that's the clef you most often perform in, but musicians need to know several different clefs. The three clefs that we must learn to use with equal facility are the treble clef, the bass clef, and then the alto/tenor clefs, which are both C clefs. So let me give you a quick overview of what clefs are all about. Here's a perfectly good lined whiteboard. It's got 5 staves on it, lines and spaces. And I say to you, what's that note name? Now, some of you might answer, well, it's a B. Some of you might also say, oh no, that's a D. And someone might also say, well, that's C or A. Really, without a clef, we absolutely don't know. The word clef means key, and it really is the key to telling us which letter names attach to which lines and spaces. So you may have learned a particular way to remember a clef, and the lines and spaces attached to it. Elephants get big dirty feet. That's the one for treble clef. Elephants get big dirty feet, E, G, B, D, F. However, we need to move past that kind of, I think I can remember it if I count it up sort of thing, into the automatic realm. And so that's part of the exercise. In this particular unit, we're going to practice not only new clefs, but make sure that all of the clefs become really automatic as you read them. Okay, so this clef is called the G clef. It's also called the treble clef. And it is most often used for treble voices, which are voices that sing higher, often in the female range, but not always. And we tend to sing above middle C. And so that's what this clef is good for. It's going to show us the notes that are higher than middle C. It's also called the G clef because this particular line, that's sort of the center point of this curlicue, is a G. So the notes on the staff, E, G, B, D, F. Those are the lines. The spaces, F, A, C, E. All right, that's treble clef. In this treble clef, you want to be kind of quick at being able to know what notes attach to which lines and spaces. So if I say, quick, let's write an A. All right, you think, which one am I going to write? Well, there's an easy A. Haha. That's a good A, right in the middle of the staff. How about D? Where's D going to be? Couple choices. D could be on this line. But also D is right here below the staff. So there's 2 places for D at least. One's higher than the other, but they're both D. All right. Now, let's do a little practice where I'll write the notes and you say to yourself what they are. F, B, E, C, let's see, how about this one over here? G. All right. You gotta keep practicing that treble clef, but it's time to move on. The next clef that we have on hand is the bass clef. And by the way, we do want to make sure that when we're talking about musical terms, generally the word bass is spelled with 2 S's, not B-A-S-E. Different kind of bass, frequently the same, similar meaning. Okay, bass clef is also called the F clef. Why? Because when I draw it, not only does my little squiggle start on the 4th line, which is now designating F, but also I put 2 dots on either side of it, surrounding this note F. So this is the F below middle C. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. What are the lines and spaces of bass clef? Well, starting with, I could work it out starting from the fourth line, which is F, and sort of expand it outward, but let me jump to the chase. It's lines and spaces of bass clef starting from the bottom up. G, B, D, F, A. Those are the lines. And the spaces, A, C, E, G. Lines and spaces of bass clef. So of course we need to practice so that you can say where the notes should go on the staff. So I say I would like to write the note C. Where will I write it on the staff? Which line or space will have C? If you chose this one, you are correct. All right. How about a B? Well, goodness, there's obviously, if this is a C, the one right below it must end up being a B. There's another B that's easy to write, and just above the staff, right there, in the space above the staff. Yeah. Okay. How about F? F. Well, this is the F clef, so hey, just trace that one over. F. Or if I count all the way down, here, this bottom line is G. That means the one below it is F. Okay. Now, am I stuck? This is the only C I can have in bass clef? No. No, I can actually have more lines and spaces extending above a given staff. But I'm not going to use a whole long one. Imagine if I had to carry this around everywhere I went, to carry this whiteboard around. That's too much trouble. So instead, they make ledger lines. Ledger lines are like little teeny pieces of a staff, and they just keep going up above the space above the staff. So if the top space above the staff is B, and I want to write C, there's the first ledger line. That's C. What if I wanted to write D? It would be above that ledger line, the next note above it. By the way, notice I don't have to put a lid on it to keep it from floating away. It's not going to do that. They weigh too much. Okay, likewise, I don't need to put a lid on this one to keep it from floating away off the top of the staff. That's not going to happen. Well, can I use these ledger lines below the staff? Absolutely, you sure can. To get notes that are lower. So, okay, what if I want to write low C? I'm writing for tuba, bass, cello, bassoon, something like that. I know this is a G. The next space below it is F. The next ledger line would be E. Below that E is a D. The next ledger line would be C. So there are 3 C's that I can write in bass clef using ledger lines. Okay. You might not be as quick at bass clef, some of you, as you are at treble clef, but you're going to have to practice. We've got some things in this module to help you practice and improve your speed at bass and treble clef. But wait, there's more. If you look in the textbook that we've given you, you'll see some examples of other clefs that don't show us where G is or where F is, but instead they show us where C is. And not just any C, but middle C, the C that's closest to the manufacturer's name on the piano keyboard. Those C clefs are actually movable. We use them in multiple places on the staff to help avoid writing too many ledger lines for a particular part that is in this particular range. Great, I can use alto clef and I'll reduce the number of ledger lines that I might otherwise have to have in treble clef or bass clef. So here is one of the 2 most common C clefs. I'm going to show you alto and tenor. However, I will tell you there's a soprano C clef, and we could just keep going. We could put C clefs on any line or space that we wanted to, but we're not going to. Enough is enough. We're going to just work on the 2 most common. Alto clef. Alto clef looks very simple when I use my pen or my pencil to draw it. It looks a little more fancy when you see it printed in music, but this is the perfectly good way to write it by hand. This is telling us that this line here, where this sort of pointy bit comes together, that is middle C. So if that is C, let's work out what the lines and spaces are in alto clef. F, A, C, E, G. Those are the lines. Okay, then we can work out the spaces. All right, G, B, D, F. Okay, so if we practice, what's this note in alto clef? C. All right, what's this note in alto clef? A. How about this note? G. Yeah. Okay, one more. How about this note? Right below the staff. Do you remember what this bottom line was? That was F. So this is E. Cool. Alto clef. It's going to take some practice. You might be slow at it. Don't give up. You got to practice. We'll show you a couple different ways that you can practice with all of these clefs in the next little video that you'll find on Padlet. So the next clef that uses the same positioning of middle C is called tenor clef. And so I'm going to put it right here. I'm making the same shape. I didn't draw it very well, did I? There we go. So this now, the fourth line, is now middle C. Whereas in alto clef, the third line is middle C. This one, the fourth line up, is middle C. Let's check out those lines and spaces. D, F, A, C, E. Those are the lines. The spaces. E, G, B, D. Those are the lines and spaces for tenor clef. Notice they're just really a third off of what the lines and spaces were from alto clef. They're 3 notes away. Could you do some mental trick and just say, oh yeah, always just count down this many notes? You could. Probably somebody maybe has suggested to you a trick that says, oh, just think of treble clef, but then count down these many notes or add up these many notes. You don't want to do that. You want to learn these clefs so that you just look at them and know them. Why? Because there's so much music out there to look at and listen to and learn about that you're going to want to save your brain the wear and tear. You want to just recognize these notes as soon as you see them on the staff. Okay? Let's put that to practice. Here's that tenor clef, and I'd like to know, what note am I writing? This is middle C. C, B, A, G. That's the note G. Okay. Let's see. How about what is this note? Let's do a ledger line note. This is C. This is E. That must be G too. Also a G. Okay. How about let's try this note. That's right above the middle C, isn't it? Okay. How about this one? Can you count that down? That's an F. Okay. So we have to practice all of these clefs. Let's do a little bit of practice with all of them. And you can just do it right here on the video.